By the way, Newt Gingrich's book has been #1 for literally like 2 months before even its release. Understanding Trump may end up being probably the bestseller he's had up to date, and he's had 1,000 bestsellers. And of course, he writes fiction and nonfiction. This is the real story about the man that was able to beat 16 other Republicans, governors and senators and people with greater name recognition, and the most unconventional politician in our lifetime, and why he remains successful and was able to win the presidency. And by the way, if you're around Tyson's Corner in McLean, Virginia, Newt has a book signing coming up.
It's tonight at 7 o'clock.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Is this the biggest book so far launch you've ever had?
Well, the biggest except for To Renew America, which came right after I was speaker. But this one may rival that. It's really on a roll right now.
Yeah, no, I understand. Let me ask you this. I just played all the vitriol, all the hate. And by the way, I can spend a whole week, 3 hours a day, all day, playing the left's hatred and vitriol. And the culminating, of course, with the assassination attempt against all of these Republican congressmen and senators. And do you think the rhetoric, the hatred, the vitriol, the conspiracy theory advancement, the undermining of President Trump, which all of it, has it contributed to an atmosphere that sets off crazy people, or do you just have to blame them?
Oh, absolutely. I just talked to the College Republican National Convention, and about a third of the students reported about the tension on their campus. One young lady was actually suspended from her sorority for being a Trump supporter. I mean, just a level of hostility across the whole system, and it has consequences. I mean, we have to be aware of that. Again, I don't blame them for what happened this week, because I think when you have a guy who picks up a gun and goes out, he is responsible. He's the one we should punish, and he's the guy who's crazy. But I certainly think the underlying pattern of tension and of potential violence is very deep, and it's very real. And it's something I experience when I go out and I speak on campuses. And then I ask students to tell me about their experiences. It's a real challenge.
Well, it's deeper than that. I mean, because then you got the conspiracy theories. I mean, I saw this today, and it was, I guess, maybe it was after Comey in the middle of the hearings. And then I read an article today. Rachel Maddow concludes that there's a possibility there was no Trump-Russia collusion. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Black helicopter conspiracy theorist, the leading tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist in the country, without any evidence at all whatsoever, has been advancing this crap. And now all of a sudden, well, there's just a slight possibility there is no Trump-Russia collusion.
I thought the most amazing example of that was immediately after Comey was done, Chris Matthews, to his credit, said that no reasonable person can believe in collusion after this testimony. Now, for Matthews to say that, I thought was pretty historic.
Well, he played it the second after he said it, and I didn't know if it was a moment of just sanity that crept into his life for a second, but he's right. There is no evidence, and I sense now that the left is ever so slowly trying to backfire. Once look at the Washington Post this week. Once they found out there's, no Trump investigation, there's no evidence of collusion, there's no evidence of obstruction, because the president clearly, even according to Comey, encouraged the investigation to move forward. And he also encouraged to go, that he would investigate even the satellites around him. So there's no evidence there. So what does the Washington Post do? The same people proven wrong multiple times in just the last couple of weeks, when they said, just before Comey's fired, he wanted more money. And Rosenstein, by the way, in his case, he never said what they said he said, which is that he threatened to quit. He went on an interview and said just the opposite. So now they come out with 2 articles 2 nights in a row, one against Jared, quote, collateral damage, and one against, the president himself, that the special counsel is investigating both of them, but they have no sources at all.
Right. And Rosenstein comes out and says, nobody should believe these unsourced stories. But by the way, I did my newsletter today at Gingrich Productions, which is available for free, on Attorney General Sessions as a study in courage. If you look at his testimony, it is a case study in what Republicans ought to be like. He is direct. He is tough. He's emotional when appropriate. He doesn't take anything off the Democrats. It's a remarkable testimony, and is really if every Republican were as determined and as tough as Jeff Sessions was in his appearance, we'd be in dramatically better shape right now.
Totally agree with you. Let me, in the context of you writing Understanding Trump, can you explain the most hostile, vitriolic, negative reaction? I mean, it is almost a pack mentality against the president, and include in that your analysis of the deep state, and that is our intelligence community leaking against him.
Can I just insert one quick thing, because it's a personal thing?
Yeah.
The president today in Miami took a personal friend of close to me, Luis Haza, and his wife Dana, had Luis up on the stage. Luis was a child prodigy who refused to play for Fidel. When Fidel physically went into their home and said, "You will play for me, play something," he played the Star-Spangled Banner. He was 8 years old. At 8 years of age, he had the guts to stand there in front of the dictator. His father was killed by Raul. He can't go back to Cuba because they'd never let him go again. And the president brought him up on stage, told this amazing story of courage, and then asked him to play the Star-Spangled Banner on his violin. He was first violin at the National Orchestra. A very close friend of ours. I married somebody who worked for me for years, Dana Haza. I just had to get that in. It's such an emotional and such a powerful story. Now let's talk about the deep state, which is obvious. I mean, 97% of the money given by employees at the Justice Department go to Hillary. 99% at the State Department go to Hillary. The first four people hired by Mueller are all Democratic donors, one of whom actually defended the Clinton Foundation against Freedom of Information Act requests. I mean, give me a break. You know, people want us to be so stupid that if a herd of elephants runs through our living room, crushes everything, we're supposed to go, gee, I wonder if we had a party. No, these people are our opponents, and I'll tell you what I believe is the real cause of this. At 8 o'clock on election night, everyone on the left was prepared to win, and they were then going to finish imposing left-wing radical values through the courts and through the bureaucracies. They were salivating. They were happy. 3 hours later, they were in the worst of all worlds. They hadn't lost to a moderate establishment Republican. They'd lost to Donald J. Trump. And I think the trauma of those 3 hours was so decisive that they've never recovered. And at the level of hatred that they feel, and it's hatred, the level of hatred they feel, which is virtually deranged.
All right, hang on. I want to pick it up there and how this plays out, this level of hatred. But we have former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich's brand new book. It is now a bestseller across the country. You can get it at Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere, Hannity.com, Understanding Trump. All right, as we continue, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich's brand new book, Understanding Trump. And he is going to be at Tyson's Corner tonight at a book signing in McLean, Virginia, 7 o'clock. And I know a lot of people are showing up at your book signings, which is terrific for you, one of your best-selling books of all time. And I want to ask this question. This is important. So you talk about the madness of the left, and at 11 o'clock on November 8th, Election Day, they don't get over it. And now you've got a deep state conspiracy, and now you've got a special counsel leaking information with conflicts of interest, hiring Hillary Clinton lawyers and Clinton and Obama donors to investigate the president and his family. I can't think of anything more inherently corrupt or conflicting than this. And in the case of Rosenstein, he sees it. In the case of Mueller, he's still there.
Well, look, I think that's exactly right. When you recognize that this is a pattern, Comey, under Bush, appointed the godfather to his children, Patrick Fitzgerald, to be an independent counsel or special counsel at a time when they knew that there was no crime committed in the Valerie Plame case because she was not a protected agent at that time. And they knew who had leaked her name, Richard Armitage Estate. Even though they knew those two things, he appointed the godfather of his children who ran amok because his goal was to get Dick Cheney. And in the end, he did tremendous damage, caused people a lot of money, and put basically totally innocent guy in jail. It's a horrendous story. So when I watch Mueller, and I really turned totally, I thought Mueller was fine when they first named him. But the minute that Comey testified with enormous arrogance that he had deliberately leaked to a college professor in order, this is his words, not mine, in order to get a special counsel appointed, and the special counsel is his good friend, who, by the way, under professional rules of justice, would have to recuse himself in investigating Comey. I mean, this is crazy. And that's the point at which I said, wait a second.
But everybody in the media is like hyperventilating. Okay, if Trump fires him, this is Watergate and a Saturday night massacre.
Right. And that's because everybody in the media is totally sold out to the left. Not everybody, but 80% of the media is sold out to the left. And that you have to assume automatically that this is the attack media. It's not the news media. I've said over and over again, if I were Trump, I would kick CNN out of the White House. The idea that they got a 93% negative story rating from Harvard. Why would you let somebody into your house who is 93% of the time attacking you? And I think we all just understand this. The amazing thing about Trump's favorables, he right now is about 42% favorable. The amazing thing is that's after everything they've tried to do to him. I mean, the unending negative coverage, and over 4 out of every 10 Americans just shrug it off, and they're getting madder about it. People walk up to me everywhere and thank me for speaking out. I'm really amazed.
I get the same thing. I really do. And then we also, they want to silence you and me too, by the way. Just a little side note. They'd like to shut you up and me up at the same time. Maybe we'll go start we'll get a bottle of wine and 2 Dixie cups if we get fired.
Well, no, look, if they shut me up, I'm just going to go and become a monk and sit on a mountaintop and contemplate.
Oh, yeah. Same with me. That's my future.
Yeah, right.
They wouldn't even accept me. They'd throw me out.
They're not going to shut us up. This is a free society still.
You're right.
And I'm prepared to stand and fight for this country as long as it takes.
Me too. God bless you. The book is called Understanding Trump. Bookstores everywhere. Tyson's Corner tonight, 7 o'clock. If you want to meet the speaker, he'll be speaking, signing books. We'll take a quick break.